This episode is supported by NatWest, providing ease of mind when it comes to business payments.
NatWest Pay It, the bank's own payment solution, facilitates customer payments in near real time while allowing companies to track live spending. Need to collect payments without customer account numbers or process refunds without holding on to personal details? Pay It has your business covered.
Pay It connects directly with each customer's bank account using an API, which also allows data to be seamlessly and securely passed onto third parties. That means you can provide the best payment experience on the front end while empowering your back-end staff with the info they need for truly data-driven decision-making.
To find out more, visit payitbynatwest.com/ITPro. That's payitbynatwest.com/ITPro.
January is a time for planning, goal setting, and looking to the future, and here on the ITPro podcast, things are no different.
While there are sometimes unexpected developments, take ChatGPT in 2022 for example, it's nevertheless possible to tease out trends from the year gone by that can influence the new one.
So, what are the challenges and opportunities that IT decision makers will face in 2025? And are there any helpful lessons they can draw from 2024? You're listening to a Hogmaniacal episode of the ITPro Podcast.
Sorry.
I think it's great. Hogmaniacal. Why not?
Hi, I'm Jane McCallion.
And I'm Rory Bathgate.
For this New Year's edition of the podcast, we're joined by Dr John Honchell, IT industry analyst at Future B2B, to unpick the top trends from this year that will shape 2025. John, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Jane. Thanks, Rory. Great to be here. I'm excited to give some input and my thoughts here.
So, looking at the year that's gone by, John, what was the biggest trend of 2024 in your opinion?
Sure. 2024 was all about AI. Whether we like AI, don't like AI, believe in AI, wherever it happens to be, AI is what it was all about in 2024. While AI definitely has seen a meteoric rise on the personal side for all of us at home in usage, it still rose in business, and it's ultimately the sidekick in business that everyone's talking about. Whether the discussion is security, quantum computing, healthcare, or the distribution world, AI has definitely been at the center of all the trends in AI, right, in IT.
Is this something that you think is probably going to continue into 2025 then?
Absolutely. This year coming up, AI's integration will be, I'll use the word, nothing short than revolutionary. I hate to use such big, bold words, but I think we have some gigantic things coming our way here. Again, talking healthcare, AI-powered robots assisting in surgeries, precisions for patient outcomes within those surgeries, the manufacturing floors, Amazon and all the other distribution leaders along the way, figuring out how AI is changing the world. Major ports around the world, I think we're going to see continued issues with those people working at the ports and AI robots coming in and just changing what it is, what their job is, and what's going on. So AI-driven machines handling all these different tasks that are dangerous, or let's just face it, boring for people for what they're doing. And it's going to be all about boosting efficiencies and safety.
It's interesting. It's a topic that we spoke about in the Christmas episode, what didn't happen in 2024. But I feel like there was a feeling that this year AI was definitely continuing to mature. A lot of businesses were beginning to ask, okay, but what does it really mean for me? Business leaders maybe were rejecting some of the more high-flying use cases and were focusing more on some of the granular, nitty-gritty gains they could get from AI, like customer service chatbots, rather than re-engineering their entire data stack. But do you think then that 2025 is likely to be a year that we do see some of these kind of promises made, delivered on by AI developers?
I believe we will. And the reason I say that is it's going to be driven by those vendors and those companies that are going to incorporate that directly into their offerings and their services. I think that's where that trend is going to be. I don't think it's necessarily every company around the world is suddenly going to have an AI expert and to be able to create things internally. Small, medium-sized businesses, they're just not going to be able to do that, right? It's not there yet. It will be there in a couple of years. I think that's all about where it's going to be. But it's going to be the providers of services, the provider of hardware, the provider of software that are going to step up in this entity along the way.
Do you think we're likely to see some changes in how some of the big AI players run their business this year?
Sure. So we're talking about OpenAI going out, selling stock, being more private. OpenAI was built on the theory that it's for the public. It's generally available, and that's the way it's going to be, not necessarily profit driven. But as they're building all their models, especially their LLMs along the way, their large language models, you're seeing that they're not making a profit. They're not breaking even. Even after I don't know, maybe you two know better. How many billions of dollars has OpenAI just
Set fire to? Oh, generated. Sorry.
It's crazy how much billions, tens. It's record breaking. The most venture capitalist investment that's ever occurred in the world, and that's around OpenAI. So they're looking at trying to go private themselves. And of course, what's interesting about the whole thing is there's Elon Musk in the mix too, right? He was actually one of the people that helped get OpenAI moving and going in the right direction. And now here he is saying, whoa, no, OpenAI cannot become a company that's selling stock and moving forward and being more profit driven along the way, which is interesting. It's actually comical, right? It's actually comical that someone who's building his own AI agent within his own corporation, being built for profitable reasons, is saying that another organization can't become a profitable or private entity along the way and sell stocks. So yeah, that rub is very circular there.
Definitely. This is something we spoke about recently on the podcast, that OpenAI funding round. I think it was $6.3 billion. That was just the most recent funding round, but
crazy.
A lot of money. But it's interesting, as you point out, that there's this, well, there has been for a time some of this growing competition between AI developers and, OpenAI, for example, requires that its funders don't fund its competitors, which is starting to kind of silo the market a bit, less free investment there and free competition. But it is interesting that this past year we've seen more of a focus on LLMs that are grounded in private data and LLMs that don't leave a specific organization's premises. So, that data is not going to the public cloud, which is in a way a rejection of what we saw in 2023, isn't it? That embracing of the public cloud through things like ChatGPT and OpenAI's API on Azure, that this year we've seen businesses go, okay, well, AI, maybe putting all my proprietary code in the public cloud, no thanks. And they're charting their own course of investment and return on investment that is primarily happening within their own organizational boundaries.
You're right. You're absolutely right. When we're talking privatization of AI and also talking private cloud together, there's a couple different perspectives of that, right? First is just the rise of private AI that we're talking about here, and that link to cloud solutions. I think of private AI as your personal chef, crafting those edible, scrumptious data insights tailored just for you accordingly. And of course, to keep your secret sauce confidential, you don't want to give your recipes away. You have to secure your kitchen accordingly. And that's really what I think private cloud is. That's where AI and cloud come together, right? So by hosting AI models in the private cloud, businesses, companies, they're ensuring data privacy, increasing enhanced security, compliance, regulations, and so forth. I think of just VMware, for example. They have a private AI solution that's leveraging a private cloud infrastructure, and they try to make it as cost efficient as possible. But I think we've learned over the decades of computers and technology, The cost benefit ROI necessarily may or may not be there, but the security aspect is there, of course. Of course, we could talk the opposite of that true, right? Imagine AI patrolling that private cloud fortress, or whatever term we want to use, optimizing the performance, detecting those issues and from a security perspective, and just keeping everything running smoothly. I think of HPE also, Hewlett Packard Enterprises. They introduced their private cloud AI as a turnkey solution. Going back to that, companies are going to look at other providers for solutions along the way to deploy and manage AI applications right within their private cloud environments, and looking at streamlining and that automation of operations and maintenance and data privacy protection along the way.
Well, John, that leads us very neatly to, I think, probably one of the next big areas that we wanted to talk about, which is cybersecurity. It's a perennial business concern. What form it takes or what form the threats take changes year in, year out. Can you explain how cyber threats have changed over the course of 2024 and what you think this could mean for 2025?
Sure. As you said, let's talk about where we've been here in 2024 before we jump into that 2025. Right? So cyber threats have not only intensified over the past year, but they've also become more cunning, more clever, and leaving businesses absolutely scrambling to stay ahead or even just catch up with the game along the way. One of the things is just talking ransomware. Ransomware is crazy out of control right now. Ransomware has long been, kind of like that masked bandit. I think about old timey movies and the guy with the white and black striped shirt getting out of prison, wearing that masked bandit, locking up data and demanding some sort of payout. But in 2024, more than ever, we definitely moved from going after individuals to more of a ransomware as a service. Heck, out there in the not so happy internet, ransomware as a service is real, where crooks offer their malicious software to the highest bidder, and people are buying it and creating havoc all around the world. Right? And it's that dark web version of a franchise being out there, and business is booming right now. Unfortunately, we're talking a surge of 50% the first half of 2024. My guess is we'll be at about 100% by the end of the year here coming up. These digital criminals, or the digital desperados. There's a more fun way of saying it. The digital desperados are they aren't just targeting those individuals. They're going after the big fish, the large corporations, critical infrastructure. It doesn't matter where it is around the world, whether it's electrical or oil or whatever it happens to be, they're getting hit. Government agencies themselves finding themselves in that crosshair. The attack is more aggressive. The financial department, healthcare along the way, it's going on. Education, my goodness, they're going after the educators and education facilities along the way, because let's be honest, those are some of the institutions that have the lowest level of security out there, because financially it's just not a priority for them yet, but they're learning that it really is. So, and along the cyber threats, we were talking AI. These criminals are all about building AI influence ransomware tools. So in 2025, we have to peer into that crystal ball and just start thinking about some emerging trends that have to happen or will happen. We have to have increased collaboration between business, government, cybersecurity firms accordingly. They all need to come together and share their intelligence, resources, and just combat the bad guy accordingly. They have to have, we have to look at that advanced defensive technologies. We have to fight that AI hacking with AI tools to be more preventative along the way. Let's be honest, security is a very reactive industry as it is. We try to catch things after it's already out there. So to be as near close to real time as possible so we can catch things before things get out of control. And, regulations, whether it's EU, whether it's United States, wherever we're talking about, there's all sorts of things along the way that's going to increase when it comes to cybersecurity and expectations, whether it's within a single country, whether it's within a region, whether it's within a continent, or countries that work together very well. That's going to be there. It'll be that always building on that focus of resilience. That's what's coming this next year.
Ransomware is an interesting one for me when it comes to the Dick Turpins of the information superhighway. I feel like it's gone from this is very British jokes. It's gone from like screen blocker ransomware in say like the 90s through this kind of nothing, and then in the past, say, I was going to say 5 years, but that was like 2020, which is but so slightly more than that, kind of rise in importance again. Do you just feel that it's going to carry on that way, that it is going to be the premier cause of disruption, of business losses when it comes to cyber attacks? Or is there anything else that might turn up that is, I don't know, less prone to lots and lots of similes and metaphors from us?
I don't know, honestly. Who knows? There are all sorts of brilliant people in cybersecurity trying to stop the bad guys, and there are brilliant people out there trying to cause havoc. And one thing I will say, whether it is ransomware and other types of attacks or just simply freezing companies out, I think we're going to see a shift back to more of an increase in, it's less about getting money from companies and more about cause. When I'm talking about utilities companies and government, I see a lot of, hey, look at us, we did this and we're causing an issue, and this is the cause that we're all about. The go back to anonymous. I see that coming back in trend a little bit coming into this next year. Am I right? I don't know. We'll see.
It's interesting there because something that I can definitely see happening next year, like you're saying, this rise in ransomware as a service, and if fears are realized over accessible AI tools for cyber attacks, then potentially what you get is a lot more of disaggregated groups. So solo actors or very small groups that can actually enact a great deal of harm, which makes it obviously harder to kind of do this whack-a-mole thing for international law enforcement, because you can only track so many groups at once, and if they have an especially small footprint, it's very difficult to crack down on them. And at the same time, something we've spoken about on the podcast several times this year, which is the increase in targeted attacks by state-sponsored threat actors. So that kind of critical national infrastructure disruption that you were just talking about, your grids, your water plants, your power plants, and of course governments. It's interesting that we're kind of at that fork there in the road where maybe we'll see both rise in prominence at the same time, and I guess the main loser there would be the kind of traditional for-profit group that we've seen in the past few years.
Sure, you're right. Trying to predict is always, that's what we're here for, right? That's what our conversation is. It's fun, but it's scary at the same time to have the conversation. The unknown is the unknown. Well, we can always go on. Are those hard trends, those predictable certainties that we know that's going to come? What we know is more bad is coming. As you said, getting in the hands of more individuals and smaller groups, which is scary because the tools in the hands of people that don't know what they're doing as much may actually cause crazy, catastrophic, who knows what that can come to us, because they don't understand the tools, they don't understand the process, they don't understand their process of hacking. And instead of just taking over data, who knows, they may hit a button that shouldn't be hit, or they may lose all data completely without even being able to give it back after a ransom, whatever it happens to be. The unknown is just that. It's the Wild West of cybersecurity, and poor CISOs and CSOs all around the world right now. I feel for them. Their job just gets more difficult every single day.
John, I don't think it's been possible to talk about IT in business for the past 15 years if we're not talking about the cloud. And so I'm not going to run through sort of cloud computing generally, or even necessarily, kind of public, private, hybrid, multi-clouds, whatever. The thing that's caught my eye recently is sovereign cloud. So where countries or territories are building cloud infrastructure that can only be accessed from within that territory. It's gradually risen in prominence across 2024, especially, similarly kind of the latter quarter of it. Have you got any thoughts on how this might continue in 2025?
Absolutely. As we're leaping into the new year here, that concept of sovereign cloud, it's going to continue to be a major player in the tech world. And I think it's going to take over even more. Government in general, doesn't matter what government it is, they just love to be involved with everything, right? So here comes that sovereign cloud concept along the way, that perfect blend of supposedly compliance and convenience along the way. There's all sorts of positives that come out of it. Hopefully being more secure, better data protection concerns, reaching new heights, and those regulations are there to meet them. And they're stringent, and they're going to be even more stringent, I believe, coming up in the next year, and especially over the next 5 years coming up here. As we're flocking to these sovereign cloud solutions or ideas faster than other, the shift it isn't about simply ticking a checkbox in your compliance, whatever audit you're having to go through. It's more than that. A lot of companies are going step by step because they have to do it. I think this coming year, they're going to realize why it's so important that we do these and we hold ourselves to such high standards. I think of a couple different real world examples. Just in Europe, that Europe's data fortress that's there. The EU has become a leader of that charge in data protection with its GDPR. Oh my gosh, let me think of that. General Data Protection Regulation. I think that's right. GDPR. Yeah. In response to cloud providers and setting up data centers within Europe to cater to businesses needing to comply with these laws. But again, there are companies such as AWS, Amazon Web Services. They announce plans to invest, I don't know, 7-8 billion euros into the European sovereign cloud coming up here soon. I don't know the exact number, but specifically, I think they're looking at Germany as a center, but it doesn't matter where it's at, right? Their goal is aiming to launch the first AWS sovereign cloud region by the end of 2025. India is another example. India has a cloud initiative coming up. The Bank of India, the Reserve Bank of India, I believe that's what it's called, is planning to launch a pilot program in 2025 also coming up here. They're going to offer local data storage services to financial firms. So let's think about that. The federal bank is offering services to financial firms. And this initiative of aiming to counteract the dominance of global cloud service providers and ensuring some data sovereignty also for these organizations. A very unique blend of government meets business along the way and how they can partner together.
Yeah, it's interesting that AWS investment you referenced there, that 7.8 billion euro investment.
I was close.
Yes, you're between the two. we ran a piece on that at the time, in which our staff writer George Fitzmaurice spoke to a Forrester analyst who said that this is really the bare minimum going forward, that cloud providers are going to need to offer these sovereign cloud services to keep up in the market. Do you think that we're likely, therefore, to see a lot more sovereign cloud offerings released in 2025?
I believe Europe is definitely going to be the leader in that. I believe that United States and North America and South America, I think we're definitely going to lag behind that. I believe Europe is going to lead the cause, lead the way, and do it correctly. And the rest of the Western world will follow suit, I believe. I don't see anything wrong with doing this. I just know I worry about government at times not taking over some things, but leading the way with some things. And it's not, the heart is always in the right place, but will the investment be there with the government to do it right, do it securely, and to make it accessible and not crashing? We've all in our lifetime seen government entities through technology crashing. We want to make sure whatever the solution is, it is accessible, efficient, and effective.
John, is there one lesson that you think that business lessons could take from 2024 that would really help them going into 2025?
Yeah, I'm going to wrap this up into about 3 things all together. Number one
Okay.
is basically being an adaptive leader. Whether you're an IT leader or just a leader of an institute or an organization or a business, whatever it happens to be, being an adaptive leader is going to be important. You know, that rapid evolution of technology and market dynamics, it underscores the need for leaders to be flexible and responsive. Embracing this adaptability definitely will enable these businesses and organizations to manage transition, take advantage of these new opportunities, and just maintain that resilience and security as we're moving around through all the uncertainty that's going to come up. And in there, you notice I use the word seizing emerging opportunities. Yes, there'll always be the green light companies and organizations and the yellow light and then the red lights. That's always going to be there. And I don't think that trend in percentages of who is going to jump on board first versus not, I don't think that's going to change. But having a good understanding, as I mentioned earlier, predictable certainties, those hard trends, those things that are coming, whether it is, where we're talking AI, whether it's security, whatever it happens to be, you have to be able to embrace that and understand it is coming. This isn't a soft trend. These aren't things that are soft trends that are coming. It is coming. And lastly, I worked on an acronym, kind of throwing this all together. You know, I think of, I've been working on this for a couple of years, and I call it SPOT, S-P-O-T. And when we're talking about scaling IT successfully and looking into the next year, it's not about technology alone. Let's be honest, it's a people first challenge. And organizational transformation requires a balance and focus on multiple different things. You know, when we're talking SPOT, S-P-O-T, I think of S is safety. That's kind of the umbrella over all of it, right? It's that overarching umbrella. And then we have people, operations, and technology. If we can think of it in that order, right? Safety, we're talking about security, the governance that we've been talking about, laws, regulations, ethics that come along the way, risk management, and the importance of protecting the sensitive data and so forth. We know we're always want to consider implementing responsibly and ensuring that data privacy. But right below that safety, security umbrella is, notice I said people. People are the core of the transformation of what's coming for us in 2024. We can throw grenade answers of solutions over the wall to employees. And if the people aren't part of that transition and what the transitions are all about, it doesn't matter. You know, in AI, we could talk about AI agents along the way and how they're going to transform processes and how people do their work. Great, that's wonderful. But if we don't understand that human capital is the driving force behind the integration, we're going to fail. So defining the people and what they need is what's going to drive the solutions in 2025 with technology. And of course, the people, they go into that O part, that operations. The operations is your processes, right? The processes that need to be completed by the people. And how can we come up with a secure way to help people finish their processes, their tasks along the way for what they're doing? And if you notice T, the technology is last, right? That's the answer. That's the outcome of the question. So the technology is going to be the enabler of the transformation along the way. I don't think that's going to change. In fact, I think that's going to be even more important for what we're doing as we come up with solutions along the way. Everyone, all you leaders out there, be bold, be innovative, be curious. I can't say it any clearer than that.
Well, unfortunately, that's all we have time for today. But John, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you. That was a blast.
As always, you can find links to all of the topics we've spoken about today in the show notes and even more on our website at itpro.com.
You can also follow us on LinkedIn, as well as subscribe to our daily newsletter. Don't forget to subscribe to the ITPro Podcast wherever you find podcasts. And if you're enjoying the show, let us know by leaving a rating or a review.
We'll be back next week with more from the world of IT. But until then, goodbye.
Goodbye. This episode is supported by NatWest, providing ease of mind when it comes to business payments.
NatWest Payit, the bank's own payment solution, facilitates customer payments in near real time while allowing companies to track live spending. Need to collect payments without customer account numbers or process refunds without holding on to personal details? Payit has your business covered.
Payit connects directly with each customer's bank account using an API, which also allows data to be seamlessly and securely passed onto third parties. That means you can provide the best payment experience on the front end while empowering your back-end staff with the info they need for truly data-driven decision-making.
To find out more, visit payitbynatwest.com/ITpro. That's payitbynatwest.com/ITpro.